Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name's Jonathan and I'm here from the Naviate technical team, and today I'm joined by a few special guests and we're going to take a look at some current architectural trends and challenges and how Naviate can help address them. I'm going to do a very quick agenda just to run through what we've got in store for you guys today. So this is the quick welcome and introduction. We're then going to be joined by John Hind, who's going to take a quick introduction around Symetri. We're then going to be joined by Paul Grimsten, where we're going to take his view from the front line within industry, and then I'm going to show you some stuff around how Naviate can help. And I'm also going to take a look at the development and community that supports Naviate. And we're going to finish the session by having a little bit of a panel discussion where you guys can ask any questions and we can discuss any of the queries that you have. So as I said, I'm joined by a couple of special guests. We've got John Hind, who's the business area director in the UK here. We're joined by Paul Grimsten, our technical lead, who's principal consultant and the sector lead for architecture. I'm the Naviate technology manager, where I oversee the Naviate side of things. And we're also joined by Hannah, who's our account-based marketing manager, also here within the UK. Just a little bit around the format of what we're looking at today. You can ask questions. If you've got any questions throughout the presentations that you're going to see, just pop them into the chat panel. We'll note them down and then we can address them in the panel session towards the end of the session today, if that's okay. I'm now going to pass over to John Hind, who's going to do a very quick introduction about Symetri for those of you not aware. So welcome and good morning, John. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Jonathan Hand. I'll now just do a quick overview of Symetri and the Adno group, and then we can get into the technical demonstration. So Symetri, as I've just said, is part of the Adno group. Within this group, we have over 2,100 employees globally, and the turnover last year was just shy of 400 million. Under the group structure Adno, we have 3 separate business units, which is design management, which is where Symetri fit. We have process management and lifecycle management. We use this capacity and expertise to share our capability for the benefit of our clients. And if we look at it in a little bit more detail at the design management business unit and Symetri, with the recent acquisition of Microdesk, we now have around 750 members of staff with 100 developers and 400 technical experts supporting over 200,000 users of Autodesk and Symetri technology. So if we have a look at the values that Symetri has, this is quite important when you've got a team of 2,000 people, that we have a shared set of values. So first of all, we are passionate about what we do. We have application specialists and consultants and account managers that are committed individuals whose primary focus is customer success. Symetri has the courage to help our clients do things differently. We want to understand why our clients work in the way that they do. Sometimes we have to look at things differently in order to ensure success. I think we've all been a victim in the past of using the path of least resistance. However, Symetri believe that if something is not adding value or can be improved, then the onus is on us to challenge the state of play and help our clients work smarter. We draw on our specialist teams and our teamwork to mark us out as a partner of choice. We have over 700 members of staff available to make a real difference to your business and your processes. Change is often used as the password to success, but that is only the case if you have the correct level of support and resources to deliver that success. And we are confident that Symetri and Naviate can and will add value to your business. So whilst today's focus is on Naviate, I also wanted to take this opportunity to show you that Symetri has expertise not just in the AEC space, but also with our other Symetri technology solutions, such as Sevilla, which is in the product design and manufacturing space, data management and product lifecycle management, And then another area that I'm particularly passionate about is our engineering IT management, or the CQ products. These help our clients deploy, monitor, and understand license compliance for complex software environments that we all use today. And then if we have a look at the cornerstones for Symetri, this is how we want to behave and how we really see as adding value for our clients. So we have leading edge technology and services. We strive to deliver solutions that our clients want and value. We develop tools to connect and enhance our clients' workflows. We have expertise. Design software has never been so complex as it is today. We help our clients and teams organize and move forward, leveraging our collective expertise gained through our 400 consultants over 35 years. We move on to our view around being a trusted partner. As Symetri, as a team, we look to ensure that we have client relationships that endure and are sustainable. Trust is a key element to this journey, and that by having solutions that we jointly develop with our clients at the center, we believe this will develop real value add. And finally, we help our clients work smarter. We all know the phrase same task, different day. But with our own tech solutions, such as Naviate, we help automate, digitize, and improve our clients' businesses. Today's session is just going to give you a high-level view as to how we can make you more efficient, productive, and more profitable. So just this slide just talks about the fact that our status now is the #1 Autodesk solution provider globally. Since we joined forces with the likes of Exitech and Microdesk, we are now the largest Autodesk partner in the world. And for me, what's most interesting about this fact is that out of a team of 750 people, almost 70% of that team is technical. That focus on technology and customer value is how our clients are going to partner with Symetri going forward. The Naviate platform has around 8,000 users with a renewal rate of 95%. So we know that our clients see the value in the platform.
Thank you very much, John. We'll be joined later with you on the panel. I'd like to now introduce Paul Grimsten, who's going to give us his view from the front line. So, Paul, welcome to the session. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good morning, all. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It's all coming through clear.
Yep, all good.
Brilliant. So yeah, I've been asked to speak about challenges with Revit that I come across when working with our clients. So actually, I thought I'd start by giving you a little bit of background about myself. So I've been working here at Symetri, formerly Exitech actually. John mentioned Exitech joined in, so I was at Exitech previously, but been here for over 20 years now. My early career was as an architectural technician. And that's actually where I first started using the Autodesk technology, AutoCAD, way back in the 1990s. Actually, soon after starting the role here at Symetri, I was given the sort of BIM mantle with architectural desktop, which an AutoCAD-based system, and it's actually still around. Goes by the name of AutoCAD Architecture, although I don't really see it used that often now. Although I did actually get a request towards the end of last year, believe it or not. And I was also involved with the team that actually implemented architectural desktop along with the forerunner to the current kind of ISO standards on the Heathrow Terminal 5 project. I started working with Revit following Autodesk's purchase of it, and over the last kind of 15 plus years, I've sort of seen it become the industry standard software that we all know today, you know, taken over from AutoCAD quite quickly actually. And over that time, my main focus has been to help our clients implement Autodesk technology, and it's been mostly Revit, but all sorts of other technology into all of the projects and workflows. So I've been quite fortunate actually. We've got such a diverse range of clients that's enabled me to see those challenges posed by Revit from many different angles, not just with architects, but you know, all areas of the construction industry and beyond into retail and various other industries too. We've also had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest kind of corporations and government departments and actually right down to the smallest sole operator type of businesses. Actually working with all these different clients, I've seen that they all have similar challenges with Revit actually, and I tend to categorize those into 4 areas. You know, it tends to become an easier fit. So the first area that we see are kind of everyday tasks, and these things that are just a little bit frustrating at times. You know, sometimes it's just sort of selecting objects or finding the right object on a complex project, trying to find the right family in the office library, searching through folders. You know, that can take a bit of time. You know it's there, but just can't quite find it. There's other things like making drawings look presentable and consistent. So, you know, we need to get views aligned across sheets so that they don't do that little kind of jiggle thing in the PDF when you scroll through it. That's quite annoying. And things like assigning the right view templates. You know, there's always hundreds of them in the projects, adjusting 3D sections, that sort of thing. And these things can sometimes just be a little bit harder than they should be. You know, some projects are just a bit complicated, and when you're doing this all day, every day, it can be a bit frustrating. So, you know, finding the best way to be able to do these things, to carry out these tasks, can make a real difference to your everyday workload. And if you can make it feel that bit easier and give yourself a bit more time to get on with the things you actually want to be doing, you're designing and issuing the drawings and things like that, then, you know, it's really worthwhile investigating the options there. The next group of challenges we tend to think of as being things that are carried out on a regular basis, you know, maybe weekly or fortnightly. And the obvious one seems to be, you know, issuing a set of drawings. I mean, to have to go through each sheet individually and edit those revisions, you know, ticking the box to make sure you've got the right one, the next one in the sequence, can, you know, be a bit time consuming. One thing that has changed recently, actually, you know, printing sheets to PDFs with all of the correct naming convention, well, that has been improved in Revit 22 and onwards. But you know, if you have to issue DWGs, Navisworks, IFCs too, then that can take some time. And actually, if you're still working on projects in Revit 21 and earlier, then you're still spending a long time issuing those drawings. And then when we do that, chances are we do need to export out the model as well. So, you know, do we need to detach it, delete all of the views, all of the sheets, purge it? And again, this is going to take some time, especially if there's sort of multiple models that make up a project. You know, that's going to take a while to go through them all. And all of this stuff always seems to be on a Friday afternoon. So having that workflow to fall back on, you know, to know you're doing it the most efficient way, you know, whether that means a Dynamo script for specific tasks or a plugin, you know, that can be sort of worthwhile investments actually. And then the third type of issues we get to are the project management and setup issues. And these things, they're a little bit more sort of specific, I'd say. You know, there might only be certain people in the office that know how to do these things. And, you know, we're thinking about controlling all of those view filters and setting up the view templates, going through all of the warnings. You know, there's hundreds, if not thousands, that seem to creep into the projects, making sure that we've got all of the right parameters set up there, all of the schedules are working. And then this is going to lead us on to things like numbering sequences. So, you know, first time you issue your door schedule or your room schedule, you are going to have to go through and renumber all of those objects. And if you need to, you know, combine levels, zones into the numbers, then, you know, it's going to take a while to get through all of that. Another one that I often get asked about is fill patterns, actually. You know, can we create a custom fill pattern for a specific material? And this is always something that I feel like I have to relearn every time I need to do it, actually. And, well, we don't really expect every Revit user to be able to do these things. You know, not everyone wants to be an expert in Revit. And there's normally a go-to person in a company that will sort this thing out. You know, might even be you guys that are listening on the session today. And it can be quite time consuming, a bit of a pain sometimes when you have to go through this. And finally, we've got some bigger issues. These are the kind of workflow challenges. And these can be quite almost projects from being viable at times, really. See a lot of residential work going on at the moment, sort of blocks of apartments, and likelihood is you need to create a plan for each apartment in there. So you need to create a view, duplicate a view. You need to edit the crop region so that it fits around just that one apartment, get it all named. You need to put it on its own sheet, which again needs to be created and named. And all these things that are not difficult to do, but if you've got hundreds of them, then it could take days to go through. It might be similar in sort of education or healthcare projects. If you need to do room drawings, then you're going to have at least 4 elevations, plan, maybe a 3D view as well, and you probably want to put a schedule on there. And chances are, in a big sort of healthcare project or educational thing, there could be thousands of rooms. That's kind of a real nightmare when someone has to make a start on all of those kind of drawings. So other detailed bits, we see door window drawings, lots of, we want that detailed elevation plan that we can put in with the door schedule, and there can be hundreds of those to go through, and each one is an individual little drawing that you've got to make up. And actually, what we're seeing a lot over the last few years has been a noticeable increase in the request to help organize data within models. COBie has become a really common deliverable, but also uniclass coding, using SFG codes for asset management, and actually also data for embodied carbon calculations is a common theme as well now. And whilst there might be specific tools to help actually organize all of this, checking that it's all done correctly, that the parameters are filled in with the correct naming, or having to combine different parameters together to get the right syntax and all of that sort of thing. That can really take a long time on a project, and you really do need an easy way of kind of managing that data and all of those parameters, and actually having a visual way to check that data makes it a much easier thing to do. And these kind of tasks can be quite crucial to a project. They're big overhead as well, so there may not be an easy way to carry out some of these things in Revit. You may be thinking that someone's just going to have to sit there and plow through it all. It may take days, if not weeks, going through it. So therefore, getting a custom script or an app written could well be worth the investment if it's something that you do regularly. Actually, this is kind of where my role comes in. I've worked with numerous clients going through these kinds of challenges, and actually everyone comes at it from a slightly different angle. They've all got their own requirements, so it's always interesting to see how we can work through the problems to suit that specific client. Sometimes it might just be training, or a bit of a deeper dive into how Revit works, coming up with a good workflow, making sure that we've got that tick box that might just fix the issue organized. Might be me coming in to help out on a regular basis, or one of my colleagues. As say, there's a lot of us around nowadays, so it could be any one of a number of us that might come in, and yeah, we could go through warnings, we can give you model health checks, we can write a Dynamo script and help solve some of these issues. But actually, this is also where Naviate can help us out. It's got over 100 tools in there, actually, in the sort of accelerate and the architecture ones that we're looking at, and they're actually all created from a need. They're there to help us work smarter in Revit, and actually it can have a big impact on the challenges that we face. Seeing how a lot of these tools can be applied in combinations to different workflows, it becomes a very powerful set of tools that we've got here, and could actually alleviate a huge amount of frustration in the day-to-day tasks, but also in some of the bigger workflows. Could make some of those projects a bit more viable again. So actually, I think it's a really good opportunity for us today to show you some of these tools, get some feedback from you and thoughts on how they might help you. So actually with that, I will hand you back to Jonathan. And in the limited time that we've got today, he'll take us through some of these tools and give you a bit of a demonstration of how they work. And hopefully that will encourage you to investigate some of these further. So thanks for listening, and we'll hand back to you, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Paul. Amazing insights as always from your experience from the industry, and I guess really highlights the level of work that some of you guys will have to do in the workflows and the deliverables that you have to do. As Paul mentioned, I'm going to take you through and try and identify some of the key areas that Paul has mentioned. I can't show you everything. There is literally too much in Naviate to show within this session. As Paul mentioned, there's well over 100 tools. But I'm going to try and identify some of the key things and the key workflows. So what we're going to look at today is Naviate, and this is a solution. It's our own tech solution by Symetri. And sort of John and Paul have both touched on it and on why we sort of have Naviate and what the drivers are for what we call Symmetry Tech. So this is our technical business and why we develop these products. We want to effectively, we want to be more efficient. We want to enable the best workflows on top of Autodesk technology. A key driver for us moving forward is also to be sustainable, like the rest of the world. This is a key buzzword at the minute. We want to help our customers be more sustainable. We want to Naviate be more sustainable. We want to be more sustainable in everything that we do in terms of material selection and how we look at the carbon offsetting. We also want to look at the benefit of data and how we can enable customers to use big data and use it smartly and use it more securely. And I guess a key driver for myself and all of the Symmetry Tech team is about learning to be better and how we can facilitate an efficient digital learning strategy. And that all comes within Naviate, and I will explain a little bit more about it later on. As John briefly touched on earlier on, our three big key sort of product portfolios are Naviate, Savelia, and CQ. And today we're going to look at Naviate. Now, for those of you that are new to Naviate, it's not just one product. There are lots of different sort of discipline-specific areas which Naviate can focus on. Today, we're focusing on architecture, obviously with it being an architectural themed presentation. And on the top left of the screen, you will see Accelerate. That is our core module that comes with all the other discipline-specific areas. So today we're going to focus on architecture and Accelerate, but you can see we've got a wide range of different products that sit on top of Revit, from electrical to land use, site and landscaping, structure, reinforcement, daylight analysis, and HVAC and plumbing. So I'm not going to do a live presentation. I want to play this video, which I've been prepping over the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to talk over that and explain a little bit about what Naviate can do. So we're going to look at some everyday tasks that are within Revit, and you know, even things as simple as filtering in Revit sometimes are painful. You can see here in the example, I'm trying to filter by rooms, but I can just select the rooms as a category. I can't really filter in any more depth, but within Naviate, we've got a filter element tool, and this just allows you to drill that little bit deeper when you need it. So we can still select by category, but as soon as I select a category, I can also select the individual rooms. And once you have that, you can then just click select elements. And I've been very quickly gone into my model and been able to select and update that piece of information within this instance. In this instance, I've been able to select my kitchen, quickly apply a floor finish, and easily do that without actually selecting physical objects within the model. So it just makes it that little bit more streamlined. One of our big tools is our color element tool. We use this to create things like fire rated floor plans. Here I can select a category, automatically select a parameter, and it builds the color scheme automatically for me. And then I've got options within the tool to create some view filters. Just at the click of a button, I've went in and created the view filters. So when I check my visibility graphics, you will see the filters are now automatically configured and built within it. So it's just bringing that, you know, as Paul mentioned, these repetitive tasks, which are not hard to do in Revit, but if you're doing them over and over again, it's going to get quite time consuming. Here I'm going to start to look at, see if we can create a departmental plan, which quite often will be part of your deliverables. Again, I'm going to look at the color element tool. I'm going to look for the rooms. I'm going to select the drop down and then choose a department. And you can see already it builds the color scheme. Again, I select add the view filter, and it filters it out, and then you can go into the visibility graphics, and then obviously with the new controls in Revit for the last couple of years, you can enable and disable the filters, and there within a couple of clicks I've been able to build that directly for me. As Paul mentioned in his presentation around revisions, and this has always been problematic, very time consuming within Revit in the fact that you have to apply a revision singly on each of the sheets. But within Naviate, I can select a range of sheets and apply a revision automatically to all them sheets at a single time. So here you can see I've added in the P01 first issue, but I can then go back in, select all my sheets again, select add revisions, and then I can just pick all the other revisions as necessary within my project. Here I'm applying these 6 revisions to them 3 sheets in a matter of seconds. So it's really bringing that speed element. And again, on 5 or 6 sheets, not a problem, but if you've 100 sheets, it becomes a lot more time consuming. Another thing Paul touched upon was publishing, and yes, it is improving in Revit in the latter versions, but still needs a little bit of work. Within the Naviate tool, I can publish out to DWG, and again, all of the things that I can configure are with naming conventions. Here I've got a sheet set already preset with a naming convention, and I've done this manually to show you how quick I can configure the actually 19650 naming convention string that I want to name my file. So I'm just going through picking my parameters that already exist within my project. I add in the originator, then we'll go to the zone, and then we'll just choose that and build it the way that I want. And I click in the level, and you can see it's just a simple case of picking your parameters and you're building that convention. It doesn't have to be 19650. If you've got your own independent one, you can again just build it. So it's simply selecting the parameters that you need, you build them in, and then you can see on the right hand side I can add in prefixes and suffixes. So once we got the role, we'll then add the sheet number, and then I'm just going to add in the hyphen in that separates the naming convention, and I click OK, and that is it built. So now if I export the drawings out based on the sheet set, they will have the correct file naming convention appended to it. Here I'm creating a catalog entry, so I can save this into the project, or I can save it from my settings, but we can also add in an IFC. So again, if you want to create an IFC export, you again configure it. We will then pick, let's say, the 2x3, we select our views, we select OK, and again we're creating the IFC. Then we can add in a Navisworks export should we wish, and again you just click the blue cog, configure the options within the dialog. Here I'm selecting my views and using my sort of standard Revit exporter out, and we also have an option if you want to create PDFs as well, but you can have an option to create just a standard printout to a printer if you wish. And this doesn't need a driver. You can just select the sheet set, then we can select our plans, then we can select OK, and we can again apply naming conventions to that. And I'm just saving it. One nice thing that we can do, we can also use a common folder, so we can override the individual configuration folder location. So we can set a project location, and then you click publish, and then everything then runs through the print publish routines and sends out the different drawings. When we start looking at the challenges around Paul discussed around managing projects and updating the data within it, we've got a renumber tool, which is really useful to renumber different elements. Here I'm just selecting the doors, I'm assigning a prefix, and I'm just going to select the object. You'll notice that it's only looking for the doors to be selected, so I'm not looking for other foreign objects that I don't want to renumber. Here I can select my door, and you can see that the mark value is now updated to suit. So a really quick way you can just click, and it's really useful for things like grids and levels. Here I'm going to number by spline, so I'm going to take it that I'm going to renumber some rooms. Again, I can apply a prefix and current number, and then I can pick my spline, and it will trace the path through, and I can reverse the order as necessary. Select OK, and I've just renumbered them series of rooms all in a single go. So I've now numbered from 1 right 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 have all been done in a single click. So rather than these manual repetitive tasks, we can just go through and do all of that. As Paul mentioned, again, you may be required to strip out a model or purge it. Naviate has a tool already preset that we can sort of configure the dialog box and options to easily create. So here I'm just creating a project for issue file, and what it does, it effectively saves as your project, and then using the options on screen, you can see I can delete the sheets, the model views, I can take off CAD imports, images, scope boxes, any unused view templates, and you just configure the options as depending on what you want to effectively strip from the file. You say, yes, I want to clean up the project. then you can simply go clean up. And Naviate will allow you to keep working on your work in progress model, but then sort of save as this cleaned model out. Another big area we start to look at is manipulation of the data and editing parameters. And again, depending on what you're doing here, I can select all the type parameters for all my walls. And it brings it into this sort of Excel type matrix, which just gives you that freedom to manipulate and edit the data. We've got ranges of controls in here to drag and drop. Here I can add in some values for the mark, I can update it, and then I can drag the cell right down through all the values and use a fill increment value where it will automatically update. And if I want to put in some more descriptions, again, I can write in that Naviate is great, and then you can use copy and you can drag that information right down. So it's a really quick way to manipulate the data. What I can also do is find and search and replace. So I can search for particular values. So here I want to search for internal, and I'm renaming the actual type names here. So I'm just going to go internal dash, we click OK, and we've then just updated all the type names for them families. We then go update values, and it simply writes that information directly back into the model. And you can see I've updated 57 parameters in a single go. We also have the ability to update and modify schedules. So you can see you can select the schedule button. Here I'm loading in a Kobe schedule, which we all know will be problematic in checking and updating that data. But again, the same principle exists where I can just drag that information down within, and I can just drop it within the cell, and I can use the various options under the fill increment, and I can see there I've just updated all that information. So it becomes sort of a go-to place to update, modify, change all the metadata within your project. So you can see there 71 have been updated in a matter of seconds. When we start looking at sort of the advanced side of things, we also have the ability to combine parameter data. And this allows us to sort of lift existing parameters from our categories. In this instance, I can show you that I can select a window, choose some type parameters. Here I show an example of where I can take the roof height and width, and I'm sort of building a new parameter within my project, and I can get Naviate to populate that into a new parameter destination. So in this instance, I've taken my windows, I'm going to combine it into the comments section, and in 1 second I've updated 157 windows, and you will see that that comment section now has my new combined parameter. But when we look in this sort of in a practical example, especially around this Kobe problem, as Paul sort of mentioned, that we're now getting required to do that, I can use the combined feature to have some pre-configured routines. So I've got some things pre-configured here where I'm taking the space description, the room tag, and the usable height, and I'm using that combined feature but in a batch sequence to update 260 parameters in a matter of seconds. So you can see the description, the room tag, and the usable height have now all been populated with a new parameter information. So when I go back, let's say to my interoperability toolkit, I look at creating the spreadsheet and exporting that out into Excel. You will see that now updated information has now been embedded in to that Kobe workflow. So now when we look at the Excel sheet and we open the file, you will see that the information that I concatenated around now exists within that Excel file. So again, you know, just bringing that type of automation and speed into how you can modify and manipulate your information just makes it an extremely powerful tool. And then we start looking at some of the project specific workflows where you may be required to, let's say, create room data sheets. And this again is probably one of the big ticket items in Naviate. It's the big time saver, and the fact that it will allow me to create my elevations, my plan view, my 3D view, can also create RCPs as well. And what it's going to do is going to create these views, it's going to crop them, it's going to apply a view template, but it's also going to create the sheet and then place the views on the sheet for me. So for those of you that when you get required for this for 1 room or 10 rooms, it's not that bad. For 300 rooms, you best book off the rest of the week to find the time to do that manual repetitive task. And Naviate's just sort of automating what you have to do manually in Revit. So it's taking our views, it's now placing them onto the sheets. And we've got customers that are saving thousands and thousands of hours a year using this tool. And when we go in and look at the sheet, we can go at look at the kitchen drawing, which has just been generated, and you can see there it's placed my elevation views. And again, with view templates, you can set them up whatever way you want. I've got my plan view, and then I've also got my 3D view as well. Another area we're starting to see a lot of traction with is this sort of early stage design development and looking at areas and volumes of habitable space. And we've got tools around zoning, and we can automatically create some 3D zones from areas. And then this example I've got on the left hand side is my 3D zones, and because I've got an area plan, I can get Naviate to automatically create them model elements, so I could start to look at these zones in what they look like in volume and area and how they can be used. And you can see now it will just add them zones directly in to the 3D model to give you sort of that early stage stuff. So we're starting to see a lot of traction around this type of work, and this very early stage in design analysis. Another big workflow is door drawings, as Paul showed. It's becoming more and more of a deliverable. And again, within Naviate, we've built a system which automates the production of all your door drawings. So here I can pick from schedules, or I can pick all the door types, or I can choose individual doors within my project. And then it's a simple case of going through and sort of building the view selector. So do we want to create some elevations, plans? It will also tag and schedule and dimension these individual views as well. So sort of completing that complete workflow. And with everything in Naviate, we have the ability then, if we are creating the views, we may as well put them on to a sheet, and we've got options for how we want them to be placed. You can do them one per sheet if you wish. I tend to fill it onto a sheet, or you can specify the number of rows and columns that you wish to have on a sheet. But again, it's all from with a single dialog box, configured as you wish. And then we look at clicking the create button, and again that will just automate that manual process of going in, creating the elevation or sectional views, or even you may do it by a legend, then apply the crop region, apply the view template, create the sheet, place the views onto the sheet. And then when we go in and we have a look at our drawing that the Naviate has produced, we can see that we've just automated that complete process. So if you have that requirement, we've just sort of automated that completely within Naviate. The last sort of bit I want to touch on is this sort of the learning element. It's a key part of us moving forward. Naviate comes embedded with a knowledge platform, and this is sort of like what we sort of tend to say is sort of learning on demand. So you can just consume it when you want. It's a window which pops open within Revit, so you're still within the system. Here we can choose some of the Naviate content. You can select a video. So let's say we want to know how to do a particular task, but I've not done it before. Again, I've just shown you how to do the room drawings, and this little video is 1 minute 17 seconds. So even if you've never run the tool before, or you've not read the help file, or maybe not have training, you can just go in at any point into the knowledge platform, review the video, selecting the different options, and it's just a very quick, easy way on demand when you need it, when you've got that project requirement and you've not got time. And especially now in these sort of pandemic times where you may not be in the office, you may not have that shoulder to tip and ask, oh, can you show me how to do this? I've not done it before. This is where this sort of learning content sort of comes into its own, and it's been hugely successful for us as to give that sort of blended learning back to click it on demand, review the simple video. And most videos when you're looking at individual tools are 1 to 2 minutes, so you don't need to be in it for hours. You just click in when you need to do it, and it just shows you how to run that particular tool. And in the example here, I'm clicking into the sheets, and you can see very simplified version of the room drawings which I showed you previously in my example. That's just the learning content which is there, which will then run through. So you can see there, even when I played that full length in a minute, you've been able to go in. We also come with the full library of content, so you can click the navigation tools, go back through it. It comes with all the Autodesk library of content. So if you want to upskill on Revit, let's say, you can click into the Revit library. It will have all the different versions, learning paths and the years, workflows, and all that information. It's all very similar to what you've just seen You've also got a range of documents. And again, you know, if you need to, instead of Googling or doing that, you can just go into here and you can click into your library and then start to review that content as you want. There's also a hugely intelligent search engine, so you can click a search term that you're looking for how to do it, and it will return all the applicable information. In this instance, I want to know how to use a slope arrow. It's something I may not have used before, and I can then click play. What we also come with is a related learning panel, and this is a really good thing to have on at the very start of sort of your Naviate and your Revit journey. In that it's a little panel, and it's sort of looking at the commands that you're picking in the project, and it's showing you applicable learning content that is applicable to the tool that you've just picked. So even if you're brand new, never seen anything before, you can have this little related learnings panel all there for you. So that sort of hopefully covers out in a bit of a whirlwind, I know, in about 19 minutes, what Naviate has to offer. What I also want to now cover out before we get to the Q&A, which is a very big part of what Naviate is about, and it's about our development and community. Naviate wouldn't exist without our community, and this is basically everyone that helps with the development, the ideas, the conversations that we have to make Naviate better. And I sort of just want to run through an example of a year in Naviate. So Naviate as a product comes 4 times a year. We're committed to releasing every March, June, September, and December. And within that, then with each version, there is always updates and new things being added. You can see this is an example of what was added in to Naviate architecture in 2021. All the different things that we updated, we changed, we made better. And you can see the things with stars. They're the ones that have actually come from customers and clients that are using Naviate. And it just shows what we're all about, is that we listen to the feedback, we go back and we develop it. And all these things come from an idea. So everything comes from an idea. But the whole Naviate community, these ideas come from various different places, whether it's just the users, whether it's user groups, customers, events. We work very closely with Autodesk. We work very closely with people like Paul, who are at the front end of the industry trends and where the industry is going. We've also got people like myself as product specialists within the software, and then all the training that you can imagine, the amount of training that Symetri do. So we've got this whole sort of community of people that are reinforcing and giving us these ideas for Naviate. And when we look at an idea, we've got a live idea station or ideation portal, and it's a simple case, and this is a public forum. It's symmetrynaviate.ideas.aha.io, and you can go onto it, and you can see in this video I'm just simply adding in an idea to move rebar into a set. You can see I can just create it as a new idea. I can then click share, and it will go through and actually build that onto the portal. Now, what I'm sort of showing you here is sort of the internal thing that we see, where we can see all the ideas. We can see what the idea is. We can add any comments. We can add any votes, so it can get upvoted or possibly downvoted, depending on how popular that idea may be to that different people. You know, it all depends on what that is. And these ideas that are submitted into this portal, we then take forward and move into hopefully development, and then hopefully into delivery of a product back to you guys, the customer. So you can see here, this is our idea. It's now been logged. I can review all the information about it, and I can see who's voted for it, where it's been assigned. And this is, again, just a way for us to track. I can watch that idea, so I get notifications if information or the status of that idea is changing within the system. So you can start to track full transparency through our system. And we can also go in and look at other ideas. So this is an idea around Naviate site and landscaping, where we want to create default 3D views when we cut and fill. We've got ideas around managing view templates, and you can look at actually 18 people have voted for it. And these are all the live clients that have voted, people that are out there in industry are going, yes, that would be great if we could put that in to Naviate. in the next sort of release. And what happens is we get all these ideas being coming in from various different sources, and they all sort of come onto a big page like this. And then we sit down as a development team and we look at where these things can go, how they can be done, if they can be done. There's certain things which potentially cannot be done. And then we look at development planning every 3 months, and we put them into what we call a PI, which is a product increment. And we have a certain amount of capacity and things that we can actually deliver. And then we sort of toss the ideas up and down. We have a little argument here and there, and we choose what idea goes in what pot and when we can possibly deliver it. And there may also be occasions where there's things that we can't do. There's things that the Autodesk API may not allow. There may be things that Autodesk are going to come with within their own publicized roadmap. And we sort of just then plan it all in and go through all of that. So that sort of gives you hopefully a little bit of an insight into how it sort of works a little bit behind the scenes. And then what we want to look at is our community. So this is currently in beta. It's due to launch very, very soon. And it's all about sort of having a public forum for all you guys, the users, to come together to discuss everything around Naviate. And it's like most sort of technical type forums. You can create a profile, you can edit it, and you can build it up and have it looking and feeling the way that you want. And the way that we've built it is it's all about groups. So if you're interested in a particular product, you can follow each of these groups. So for instance, we can look at the Naviate for Revit group, and then we've got different topic areas where you may be interested in looking at the different topics. And this is an example of the architecture for Revit group, and you can see it's all the latest information that we're adding, whether there's been new videos published, all the information. So if you want to follow, you will see all the other members that are part of the group, and you can go in and have a look. You can then start following different people, different members that may be contributing into the community, and you may be interested in what they have to say, and you can review and speak with them, all them people within that sort of group as well. And then we can go back home, and then you can just follow the general workflow. And you can see here we've added some polls where you can see, you know, what would you like to see on the community? Does it feature videos? Is it webinars? And it just gives that sort of area where you can come and then discuss all things Naviate. So thankfully that is my bit over, and I can sort of pause for a drink of water. I want to welcome back both John and Paul, and also Hannah. And we can have a little bit of a panel discussion, see if we've got any questions which people would like to ask. And we will pass it over to Hannah, who will hopefully moderate it all for us. And I will start my video. So I am here. Hello. So
Hello.
over to you, Hannah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jonathan, Paul, and John. So I just wanted to start things off by asking John, you know, you've worked with Naviate since 2018. Can you talk about where you see the most frequent fit for Naviate?
Yeah, I think one of the areas that we see the most value that Naviate adds for clients is where we're trying to help them standardize complex environments where they have in-house scripts and add-ons and additional software. I think conversely, companies that realize that there is the ability to improve sort of project delivery through automation, or maybe they're considering using Dynamo or other programmatical options, that Naviate can do a lot of that kind of heavy lifting out of the box. I think one of the calls that myself and Johnny and Paul have quite frequently is companies that had someone that was very skilled in computational thinking and programming. That person moves on, and then the client can be left with a Revit environment that needs a lot of effort and work to function as required. I see Johnny smiling then because he knows of all the calls that we've had over the last few months on this topic. And I think what surprises clients that start using Naviate is that compared to the standard tools or in-house development, is that Naviate can help with specific workflows, whether that's room data sheets or managing data in a complex project. But it also provides that platform for continuous learning on all the core Autodesk products. So not just Naviate itself, it includes that learning for whether it's Navisworks or Revit or Recap. And also, when you subscribe to Naviate, you get access to our technical productivity support for both Naviate and the Autodesk software that you're using Naviate with. So those are the areas really that I see the best fit for Naviate.
And after companies have implemented and been using Naviate, what feedback are you receiving from clients, John?
Well, I think to two of the larger clients that I work with, these are both top 2 kind of AJ 100 customers. And the first client said after their first 12 months of use of Naviate that they're seeing a 1,500 hour time saving a month on project delivery. They've got around 20 licenses of Naviate at the moment. So that's a really significant saving for just 20 users. And then the second client, they're an Autodesk enterprise customer. And they're suggesting that any user of Revit should be using Naviate. They've got a very kind of complex, disparate environment of technology and third-party tools. So that was their reason for investing in Naviate, was just to standardize and remove that complexity. And Navigate's just provided them more time to focus on project delivery or solving workflow challenges. So Naviate solves that 80% rule of that heavy lifting that needs to be done.
Thanks, John. A question for Paul. What challenges do you have around coordinating with other disciplines? Is there anything in Naviate that could assist with this?
Yeah, there are a few different tools actually. I mean, some of the little ones, just being able to copy rooms from a linked project. That's something that it's quite common actually. Certainly, different disciplines, we all need to share the same room data within these projects, the same room names, numbers, locations, etc. So the room copy tool will bring all of that through, and actually it will also copy the levels through as well, which is quite a good thing. So there's quite a bit of work on the setup saved there. We've got the things like the scope box synchronizing between linked models, and actually quite a big one is the provision for voids, I'd say. It maybe doesn't get discussed too much within the architectural world, but this basically is a tool that allows for builders work holes. So where services are going through walls, floors, structure, it allows for that coordination between different disciplines. So you can generate those locations of those builders work holes, and then they can be scheduled, approved, and passed through different disciplines. And that's actually quite a good tool. And really, useful for the sort of multidiscipline projects as well.
So I have a question from a customer. So I think this is a question for either Paul or Jonathan. Are there any tools that can find the lowest ceiling point within each room to populate the Kobe room usable height parameter based upon the model geometry?
Well, doesn't it?
Well, so you're looking for the ceiling. So it's looking to find the height of the ceiling.
Something like that. You need the lowest point of it, or if there's a drop ceiling in the middle of a room or something like that, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we have a wall height tool which will give you the actual value of the wall height, which won't give you what you want. I'm trying to think if there's any way I don't think we have anything that's finding it at the minute. However, with Naviate, with that just being an idea, that is something that I think we will investigate and take offline and look at. It's just, I'm trying to think of how you would actually find it manually.
I think you'd almost
sort of stringing a dimension and going and checking it.
So we could take that offline. I've taken the note of the person who's asked us
I
the
think
question.
unfortunately at the minute, no, but it's an idea. No, it's in my head. It will be on my notepad. We'll look at that and say, I'm just trying to physically work out how we could find it, and then
I think you could grab the bounding box of a ceiling from a sort of programmatical point of view, and then get the lowest point of that bounding box,
true.
relate that back. So I think it could be possible.
Yeah, I don't think anything's impossible. We'll have a little look, but it's an interesting thought. It would be nice to have a little, because we've got sort of little tools like that which do wall heights, room areas, wall perimeters, little things that you really just, if you're doing it manually in Revit, it's painful. So if you know, let's take it offline and look at it, I guess.
Yeah, thank you. For any other customers with questions, please use our Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. So moving on, Jonathan, how does the licensing work for Naviate?
I thought this would come up. It always does. It's probably the #1 question. It sort of depends on what your deployment looks like. Traditionally, you've sort of seen the things that I'm using and have been using. They're sort of everyday tools. So that's where we offer single user licensing. So it's sort of single license for a single user. We also have from 2022 onwards is a cloud licensing option. So you can have your licenses in a pool and a cloud, and when we can deploy them out based upon that. And that is proving very, very popular because we've built our own license manager around that supports the easy deployment of just simply adding users, dragging, dropping, and assigning products. So effectively, single user licensing or cloud licensing is the two main options that we sort of support.
I see there is an IFC button on the ribbon during the presentation. What does this do?
Yes, we have a little subset of tools which sort of assist with the IFC exporting process. It's not a big green button which just solves the IFC conundrum. It's got some extra tools, namely it's got the ability to add in the types. So let's say, for instance, when you define the IFC schema, it will apply a floor slab to everything, but it won't actually go in and then define the individual types. And there's a lovely tool in there which just allows you to go in and drill down and define the individual types into the categories, which is really, really nice. And it's got some nice exporting stuff as well. Obviously we didn't have time to show it today. I guess if anyone's really interested in exploring, I think there's 7 tools in it which just sort of help and assist above and beyond what Revit will do manually. But yeah, there is some useful stuff in there to look at.
And also, Jonathan, in your overview of Naviate, you showed how to generate door drawing automatically. Is there a similar tool for Windows?
There is. It's called window drawings. Yeah, so there's effectively a drop down to the same side of the door drawing drop down, and it's the exact same replica of tools. So it just looks for a window category rather than a door category. So the exact same process that you've seen me do to create a door drawing would just look at the window drawing, same options for elevations, plans, tagging, scheduling, and dimensions. Yes, so window drawings we've got 2 drop downs. One is door drawings, one is window drawings, and both do individual categories of their drawings.
Thanks, Jonathan. Paul, I've got a question for you. From your experience in the field with customers, what are the top 3 tools that users see the most value in their day-to-day?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because it does vary actually, depending on the customer and the type of work that they're doing actually. As I said, those working in sort of education and healthcare, having to do room drawings, room data sheets, then the room drawings tool is, you know, even if you had nothing else in Naviate and just that room drawings tool, it would be worth it. But when you then also look, I guess more generally, things like the publishing tools, you know, having to, certainly the revisions, there's not an easy way to go and manage all of those revisions if you've got sort of hundreds of drawings in a project. So some of the publishing and sheet revisions is real time savers, and maybe a little bit less so, but actually still really, really useful. It's just the sort of parameter editors, the data management, exporting out to Excel and importing it back in again. You know, those are some really good tools, and I think the one that we list generally that we find used most from our data is the color elements as well. And that, although yes, it obviously colors elements in, you can use it to check data, and that is invaluable to color your entire model based on parameter values, so you can very quickly see where those values are and if they're wrong or right. Those are some tools that are really worthwhile actually.
Yeah, just picking up on that, from the usage stats from a Naviate as a whole globally, we see actually most popular tool is Family Browser. And that just, obviously I didn't show it, but it allows you to easily find and insert a family. But it's one of these ones that people sort of forget that they use because it's not a big ticket item. It just becomes sort of an embedded day-to-day workflow. So that's interesting that that's actually the number one used. And it probably would be because it's something that you're doing all the time rather than, you know, the room data sheets is your big ticket, big time saver.
Yeah.
So yeah, but as Paul said, there's different people will, if you asked 5 different people, they may have 5 different answers for you.
Is it possible to use the window tool for curtain wall elevations, or is there another tool available for this?
It's not possible to use the window tool. It's just looking for the actual window categories. We do have another tool called the curtain wall editor. And at the minute, that tool will allow you to define the splits and the mullion positions within your curtain walls. But we do have a big roadmap for that particular tool to look at expanding that into it. So it is something that we have discussed about giving the ability to create more and more sort of type drawings effectively, so drawings off the different types of categories, but not at the minute, but it's something we are discussing and looking at internally.
What tools do you have around the subject of fire safety?
This might be one for Mr. Hine to jump in on as well. I'll answer it from a Naviate perspective. At the minute, we don't have anything that has a fire safety thing in it, but there are a range of different workflows, as sort of Paul has mentioned, around potentially color elements, edit parameters, which could assist in identifying and updating that type of information. John, do you want to discuss sort of the area around the fire side of things and where we are at Symmetry around that?
Well, we're doing a kind of a joint venture research project with Briab. So, you know, you could just do a quick search on Google and see that company, but we're engaging with them in the UK and we're looking to do some proof of concepts, and they're quite keen to work with clients in the UK around this area. So if that's something that you wanted to explore, Joe, and I know James Bell as well, you've looked at fire safety as well, so you know, there could be some good kind of synergy there.
Lovely, thank you. Jonathan, can you explain the subscription benefits that also come with the tool set?
Yep, so obviously today you've seen what we sort of call the workflow productivity. So that's the picks and clicks of the add-on within Revit, which is great. You would get that obviously with subscription. And the way that we've taken it to market here in the UK is that we've sort of combined it with where we want to be as a trusted partner, in that you're not just getting the tool set. You will get the e-learning, which I briefly showed that comes embedded with your subscription. So once you subscribe to Naviate, you get that subscription benefit of that learning on demand. We also, as John sort of picked up on earlier, we offer technical support. So you get full technical support on the Naviate platform, which would be standard, but also we will fully support the authoring platform. So in this case, it would be Revit. So if you've got a Revit question or a query, that's also covered as part of your Naviate subscription. So you can just contact the help desk and do that. And what we also do for subscribed customers is that we offer training. So there is a 1-day training course. Well, there's several different training courses defined for the different modules, but for architecture, there is a 1-day in virtual instructor-led training with myself and the team. We will do 6 hours of training to take you through the software, to make sure that you're just fully aware, because there's well over 100 tools in there. So you get you obviously get the productivity add-on, you get the support, training, and the e-learning, all for the one subscription.
And today we've looked at Naviate Architecture and Accelerate. What other products may be applicable for architectural organisations? One for John?
Yeah, so I think Johnny Hand showed, I think it was 13 plus modules that we already have for Naviate today. But we also have some modules called Naviate Simple BIM, which is for editing, managing IFCs. We have the daylight analysis. Site and landscape seems to be one that's getting a lot of interest in the UK at the moment. And And then we also have Naviate Infrastructure, which is a product which integrates into Civil 3D. But again, it works in a similar way as Naviate Architecture does. And those two products seem to be getting the most traction in the UK at the moment. And then just one final point is, I mentioned earlier about the acquisition of Microdesk, and they have their own portfolio of a very similar platform to Naviate, which is BIMRX. So we're going to be doing a bit of a portfolio analysis to see what value their tools can add to the Naviate platform. So I think you're only going to see more and more kind of Naviate solutions and products coming out over the next sort of 12 to 24 months.
Yeah, just picking up on that, from what I see, working in Naviate daily and working with customers, particularly if I was doing an architectural presentation, there's two that always sort of stick out because I've sort of got everything loaded on my ribbon and people can see that. They will always ask what site and landscaping is from an architectural perspective because they're probably getting some type of request for either soft or hard landscaping within their project. So that's obviously an obvious one to look at. There's some really good stuff in the site and landscaping toolset, especially with Autodesk removing their product a couple of years ago, so there's no sort of landscape offering as such within Revit. And Simple BIM, again, that ability to federate and strip out IFC files. So rather than just you get an IFC file and it's got everything in it, but you only need to work with certain sections, there's some really useful stuff in there. And I guess another one I'm seeing a lot lately is as companies are working more and more in BIM 360 and ACC, is that handover piece to look at, is there anything that we can help and support around that? And yes, there is. We have a product. You sort of mentioned, John, there was new products and there will be products from, we've actually two new products from the Naviate portfolio coming this year. And one of them is Naviate Gemini. And that is a project handover tool to work online and offline with BIM 360 and ACC. So that again is one that we're getting lots of traction with and lots of conversations around that. So, but again, it all depends on the customer. We generally think we have a broad tool set which covers a lot. Some might say we've got lots and lots of things that we need to focus on. But yeah, there's a lot there.
Thank you, Jonathan. So there are all the questions we have for today. I'd like to thank all of our participants and everyone for joining us today. And yeah, we'll see you all again soon.
Thank you, Anna. Speak soon, guys.
Thank you all. Best of time.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.